Hey everyone, it's Brittany with Aimpoint here at the Virtual SHOT Show 2021. And I am here with retired police officer Jared Reston. Jared is a longtime Aimpoint user. Most of you probably know Jared from his gunfight back in 2008 when he was serving as a Jacksonville police officer. So, Jared, why don't you give those who don't know your story a quick recap and also tell us a little bit about what you're doing today.
So I am a recent retired for 20 years with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I was on their SWAT team for 17 years, full-time SWAT team, their lead firearm instructor, assistant ATL, assistant team leader, and senior CQB's instructors. With the gunfight that happened in 2008, it was started out as a shoplifter. I was working off duty in full police uniform. It wasn't a SWAT mission or anything like that. Me and my partner gave chase to a shoplifter. When I caught the shoplifter, it started in a physical confrontation, and then it ended up in a deadly force encounter where he pulled a Glock 21 from somewhere on his body and shot me. He shot me 7 times. First one went through my jaw, exited out my neck, took 3 to my body armor across the chest, 1 in my left thigh, just above the knee, exited out high in the thigh, 1 in my right buttock, and lodged against my hip and broke my hip, and then a graze of my right elbow. After being shot at, I returned fire and killed him.
Okay, and I know your story is on the internet for anybody who wants any more detail than that. But I know that that's what you get asked a lot about, so I wanted to make sure you shared. And then
Yes.
what are you doing today?
Oh, so nowadays, I still have the training company, Reston Group Training, available at restongrouptraining.com. We specialize in training firearms and tactics to military, law enforcement, and civilians. That's and doing a lot of consulting also with industries people.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So Jared, we polled the audience. We got some questions that came in for you. Some of them, I mean, I weeded out, try to keep them Aimpoint related. So this first one comes from Eric on Instagram. So he says, Jared, I follow you on social media and respect your opinion. Why do you run the ACRO? And did you also use it while you were working as a police officer?
So last question first. Yes, I did use it as a when I was a police officer. The ACRO has been my go-to pistol optic since it came out. And why I choose the ACRO over the others on the market is for 3 main reasons. Number 1, the enclosed emitter, which I do like that there's not going to be any debris or anything getting down in there. But one of the main things I like is the mounting system to the pistol. I do like how it screws in on the side rather than putting some top screws in, and because there's so many G forces on that optic when that slide's going, I've seen them rip off other red dots out there. I've seen them rip off during training and doing things. So just the way it mounts on the slide is a tremendous plus to the whole system. And then also just the crispness of the dot. It's a true Aimpoint dot. Like I like the crisp, 2.5 MOA dot. I like it.
Okay. So this isn't a question that we have, but it's a question I have. What's the setting that you typically run your dot for daytime use when you're outside teaching or whatever?
Bright. I don't know. I'll just set it to where it needs to be. I mean, bright.
Are you running it all the way up, or just maybe a couple clicks
Probably
down?
1 or 2 down.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple clicks down.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a lot of counting, Brittany. That's a lot of counting when I got it.
Okay. I won't throw my questions in there. All right. Next question is also from Instagram, and it's from Kelly. And Kelly, he or she, I don't know, wants to know what sight height you prefer for a rifle setup.
I use the lower 1/3, the 1/7. I'm not really big on the super high mounts that are out nowadays. And it might just be a personal preference of mine. Like when I came on and got on the SWAT team, we used to shoot P90s. And like the height over bore issue with a P90 was so high, like I hated it. Like I'd have to hold to get headshots. I'd be holding like in space above a target. And it always left a bad taste in my mouth. So like these super high mounts, I get where they are good. They are good with like passive IR night vision shooting and some pro mask shooting. Like it does help. And I totally agree with that. But domestic law enforcement, I'm not doing a lot of passive night vision shooting. So to me, the cons outweigh the pros for those high mounts. So that's why I do the 1/7. I still get a good cheek weld, good consistent firing positions every single time in a bunch of different positions. I find that some of those higher mounts can put a lot of parallax into certain things, and I'm just getting a chin weld, not a cheek weld. Like I like a good solid. It helps me control recoil and do different things with the gun.
Okay. All right. So next question is more of a mindset question. And this is from Brian on Facebook. And he asks, what helped you survive your deadly force encounter?
Okay, so what helped me survive? I don't like the word survive ever. I won that, even though I took a licking, but I won it. But what helped me survive? First off, luck. There's a lot of luck involved in gunfights that I didn't take. I took one through the chin that could have went straight through, and there's a lot of luck that got involved. My body armor kept me in the fight because I took 3 to my chest, 1 dead center of my sternum where it hit my trauma plate. That would have been a showstopper. But those contributed to me surviving. What contributed to me winning was the mindset of just always out there pushing yourself to always win. Don't accept the being good enough. Like I always push to be better and better. The older I get, I will still want to be better. I'm better now than I was then in case it happens again. It's just one of those things. And to me, mindset is something that does need to be trained. It's not like you can go to take a training course, but it's just little things that you do in your life to make these things like Pat Mack says, it's when you make these things habitual in your life and you do these things. So when the time comes, you don't have to go searching for mindset. Your mindset's always there and it's on that forefront ready to go.
Okay. Any, again, another Brittany question, so sorry. Any
It's all
tips
right.
on that? Or, anything that do you ever speak to that specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do a lot of silly things. Like there's just things that I think are good for your mindset. I think like something will like seep into your brain like through like your NLPs, your neurolinguistic pathways. Like I just don't want weakness to sit in there. So like I make myself go to the gym, not like for like the fitness side of it, but it's also the mindset. Like you get up and do it and get it going and make yourself do it when you don't want to do it. Like don't make excuses for yourself. Always work through the tough times because that's what develops the mindset. Something silly that I do, I don't drink white monsters because white monsters are the only monsters that are out there that are made for the monster girls. And I read the can, I was like, well, can't drink white monsters anymore.
Oh my gosh.
So it becomes a thing, and people are like, "Oh, Jared's gonna drink a white monster." I was like, "No, I won't drink a white." I just don't do like I don't know, it's just silly things that I do sometimes, and it's where I draw the line in the sand. But just sometimes have a line in the sand.
Okay.
So
All right. No white
it's just something
monsters.
stupid I
Go to the gym. Got it.
do. Or do
Uh,
other things. Also, like do something to like to like hurt once a year. Like put yourself through something and make sure you still want to do what you're doing and you still have it, you know. And I'm big on, you know, I retired this year after 20 years. And I think I could go a little bit longer, but probably not much. I don't want to ever be a detriment to my teammates or anybody like that. So it's always like, you know, I got to go out on top a little bit. So that's just kind of like how I am with my mindset is I can fight a 16-year-old kid or, you know what I mean, or 30 or whatever it is. I can still do the job when I started now. And I don't ever want to be the guy who couldn't do his job.
Yeah. Okay. Great answer. Okay. Next question. Much easier. Should I zero my ACRO at 25 yards like I do with irons?
Yes. But I zero my ACRO at 25 yards. And the reason I do it, like, so it's not like rifles and things like that where you're going to get a big holdover or your dopes are going to get crazy with different yardages. And I mean, it's a pretty flat shooting. You know, I shoot a 9mm. It's a flat shooting. So I almost think of it almost as laser beams, not, you know, holdovers and things like that. So zeroing it at 10 yards or zeroing it at 15 or 25, whatever it is. But why I zero it at 25 is I get better windage out of it. The closer I am, if I'm at the 10 and I zero it and I'm like hugging that, like on a B8 bullseye, like I'm hugging the X ring, but I'm hugging the right side of it. At 10, you might think you're good, but you step back to 25 and that might be out like into the 8 ring. So then you can make better windage corrections. You're really not going to have a, you know, an elevation type deal, but you can make better windage corrections if you can shoot a group. And that's some things that you got to really be honest with yourself. Can I shoot good enough to get a good group, to get a hard zero at 25 yards?
Okay. Okay. So next question is from Nicholas. He says, Jared, I run a Glock 19 and recently switched to an ACRO. It has drastically improved my accuracy at 25 yards, but I'm consistently shooting low at 5 to 7 yards. Any suggestions as to why this is?
Well, there is like a height over bore issue, but not really anything crazy. I think if you do it and you look, hold on, I got my Glock 19 right here. Hold on. All right. So like, here's the sights. You know, I can see it here. Here's my sights. I'm roughly 3/4 of an inch from center of the bore to like my sight height and my dot. So yes, up close, there will be a little bit of sight difference, but I think you're going to kind of get lost in the noise a little bit, and you should just let the gun do what it's going to do because, you know, a Glock, let's say 5 yards, you're going to shoot like an inch hole. So within that inch hole that you have, that ragged hole that you shot a nice tight group, you know, some will be high, some will be low, some will be left, some will be right. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a nice tight group. And so you're just going to sit there and wait, and you're going to take time to try to hold higher or when it doesn't really matter. You're getting lost in the noise and you're making it more complicated than it is. Because again, the Glock 19 with training ammo, you know, it's just not going to be, you know, the sniper rifle that you think it is. So just put the dot there and understand that you're probably going to be inch high, inch low, inch left, inch right. But together, if you keep shooting, it's going to be a good group. And it's going to be good enough to get the job done.
Okay. Since you pulled your Glock up,
Yeah.
tell us what that setup is. What are those backup sights you're running?
It's a bore sight solution Glock 19, done by Ben there. I think they're Trigicon backup sights. I don't know. Ben sent them to me. They're They're good. He did the milling on it. And that's one thing I do prefer milling for my red dots over like an MOS plate or something like that, just because, again, I like it attached right to the gun, metal to metal. The more screws in it, the more things that go wrong. But with saying that, sometimes MOS plates, MOS is the only thing your agency is going to allow you to do. So it's much better than iron sights. I mean, so that's just the way to go. So bore sight solution, Glock 19.
Okay. All right. Cool. Let's see. We got 2 questions left, Jared. Next one's from Keith. He says, I just signed up for my first night vision class and I'm thinking of switching my tritium irons to an ACRO on my pistol. Would you recommend this?
I would highly recommend it. Again, I mean, it's a dot sight, so it's going to be better when you present the pistol with a dot in front of your face, especially under night vision. You can pick up the dot a lot quicker than, especially like, tritium. The tritium, you're going to push it out there and you're going to get 3 big orbs out there, and you just kind of got to line up 3 big blobs and hope that your presentation's good, because you could be looking at your front sight, could be to the right of your rear sight, but you still got 3 orbs. So it kind of jacks it up. But you got to do what you got to do. With a red dot optic with the ACRO on it, especially like the first 4 settings being for night vision, you can make nice, good, crisp hits, and it just presents out, and it's just shooting a dot. There is no difference in night vision, really, when you have a dot on your pistol.
Okay. You took me back to my the one night vision class that I took, and I had tritium iron sights years ago, and I remember making that same mistake, not lining them up correctly.
Yep.
Okay, last question, super easy question, is from Sharon on Instagram, and they want to know, what holster do you use with your, pistol and ACRO setup?
So typically with duty, I run all Safariland holsters. They're RDS holsters. Either they're 6390 or they're 7390 is what I use. I recommend, like I run it without the bail, with just the ALS, because I've always been on a SWAT team. There's always people around me. Like in a patrol setting, I would recommend having that bail and things on it, like the 6370s or the 6360s or the 7360s, which has a bail and the ALS, just because it just gives it a little bit more weapon retention. It helps it if you're fighting over the gun or something. So, but yeah, Safariland.
All right. Cool. That's all we have. Do you have anything else, any closing statements that you want to make, or?
No, guys, just get out there and train and do what you need to do to get better. And always count on your equipment. Aimpoint will get you there.
Thanks for that plug.
There you go.
Okay. All right, guys. So we will see you around the virtual SHOT Show booth later on this week. Thanks for tuning in.